Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. I cannot wait for you to hear from our guest today. I am so excited for you to get this wisdom and take your business to the next level like she did. I have to just say, like, a big question out there is can you really do events that are fun, charitable, referral generating, and profitable? Can you profit from actually doing the event? And if you think about how mind-blowing, earth-shattering that might be, is we are actually taking our lead generation activity and turning that activity into a zero cost or a profit center. And then we get all the leads and referrals from the event. Like, it sounds too good to be true. Can you really make money making money? Is this legal? How is this legal to actually be able to do our lead generation, make money doing lead generation, and then make money with when the leads generated become referrals and closings? It just sounds too good to be true. But today we're going to prove to you that it's possible. And I also have to say, before we jump right in, is we are on the road to 1 million downloads, over 500,000 so far, and you are tuning in. You are listening. We are getting more questions, more reviews, more activity from Referrals Podcast than ever before. I do not know why, but I certainly appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in today. And I have to give a shout out to one of our listeners. Karis Hazam is a realtor out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Said, thank you for creating such an excellent system of personal and professional development. I listen to Referrals Podcast religiously every week. I love your personal involvement in the programs and the messages, and love that you host the podcast too. So, Karis, I hope I'm getting that right. Karis, I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in every week. And also, as a quick call to action, is one of the things that you're going to hear about today is event mastery and how to run events. But we actually have a whole system, referral mastery system, that has 3 pillars. It has a self-mastery pillar for your relationship with yourself. We have a relationship mastery, which is for that one-to-one relationship. How well are you on the phone? How well are you in your consultations? And then we have the pillar of event mastery, which is our one-to-many aspect or pillar. And you put them all together, it equals lots and lots of referrals, and that's the referral mastery system. If you want to learn more about that and maybe join our academy, go to referral-masteryacademy.com now. We'd love to have you. We have 2 really big classes coming up. We've got time mastery class and networking mastery class coming up. We'd love to have you in those and share the knowledge and how you can get referrals. And speaking of someone here to share their knowledge and wisdom on getting referrals, I am so incredibly, I'm so anticipatory of this, and I can't wait to hear from her today. Our guest today has an incredible story of resilience and transformation. Back in 2011, Jackie Little faced a life-changing season. Her home was foreclosed on. She suddenly lost her husband, and she became a single parent. She had to rebuild her life from the ground up. That journey led her into real estate, where she made it her mission to help others avoid the same mistakes she experienced during her very own home buying process. Fast forward 15 years, and Jackie's story has come full circle. Today, she owns the Little Group with her husband, who is also her business partner, and together, their team sells about 1 to 2 homes every single week. And her son, who is now 19, is a fledgling licensed real estate agent himself, growing up in the business. Jackie specializes in helping seniors downsize, regularly hosting free in-person seminars that empower older homeowners to simplify their lives and get excited about their next chapter. This is someone who has been doing lots of events, and here she is here to tell you how to make those fun, charitable, referral generating events even more profitable. Please help me welcome to the Referrals Podcast, Jackie Little.
Wow, that was awesome. I teared up a little bit there. Thank you.
Well, we're so glad to have you, and this is a conversation long overdue. Should have had this a while, but honestly, you're pretty new to the whole generosity generation and referral mastery system. So I'm kind of excited to get that new, fresh outlook on like what we're doing in here. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
didn't realize what I was walking into a few months ago when I started Event Mastery, but happy to be here now.
Well, all right. So let's just kind of take this chronologically. Is tell me about where you kind of were before you came to Event Mastery VIP Edition. Before you came to us, kind of give me a snapshot of, what you were doing with events and, what you were doing with lead generation.
Well, I was one of those agents that I thought I had events all figured out. I think I've been doing them at a pretty high level for 5 or 6 years. It's been my main source of communication with my clients. I'm not a phone caller, a cold caller. I don't buy leads, things like that. So I've been doing events pretty successfully. I regularly get 100 people at my events. So I wasn't really kind of feeling like I needed something in this area. However, um, I was a little bit stuck and not growing in the last few years. And I found myself blaming the market, blaming my husband, which never is a good thing, or my team, and so I finally just said, okay, Jackie, maybe it's you. Maybe you think you know everything. Maybe you think you know a little too much. Sometimes you can be a little bit successful and it gets in the way because you think, well, I'm not the problem. Look,
That's right. Law of the lid, right? Right.
it's been a lid. It's definitely been a lid. So when I finally got accountable and said, maybe it's me, maybe I need to be open a little bit to how I can expand on what we've already got going. So when referral mastery came up, I said, okay, universe,
Mhm.
I'm gonna do it as designed. I'm gonna do exactly as it's designed. So that's what happened when I joined you in January. I said I'm going to do it as designed.
Well, I think that's the key. I think a lot of times when people may have trouble with what we're doing is they get a little too creative a little too soon, and they get off track. The thing is event mastery is really an operating system that lays under any type of event you want to do. Everybody always asks, like, what's the best type of event to do? And the answer is fun. Like that's the answer. Is just like what would be fun for the top people that you know, and just work from there. But Event Mastery just got this system, this operating system you can really just run any event from. So let's just kind of go through it chronologically as you went through the process of Event Mastery, and just talk about maybe the ahas you got, what you were doing well, what you learned from it, and just kind of step through as you step through the class. So planning mastery, right? So we start with planning. What were some ahas or some differences that you discovered by doing it like the event mastery way with planning?
Well, right away, asking for people's advice. That was definitely not anything I was doing, not anything I was comfortable doing. Didn't want to call people and say, hey, what do you think about this event? And what do you think about this day? And I do think that's part of my lid is that I just want to do everything, my way and do it by myself. And so right away I felt resistance like
Mm,
immediately, but I did call myself out and said, nope, we're going to do it exactly what Michael says. And I had my team, in the class as well. So they were holding me accountable to that too. Every time I wanted to like veer off, they
yeah.
would say, no, 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 that's not the way Michael said to do it.
Aren't they great at holding you accountable,
All
right?
right.
Versus maybe holding themselves accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you came in, and so I'm guessing the difference that we do, or the different angle that we take, is a lot of people start with like the why of the event and they like, what's the purpose? And then they go right into the where, the when, the how, and all of this. And we're different. Like we're going to position this, honestly, we position this in a way to get the most amount of the best attendees possible. That's it. We start with the who instead of necessarily the why. So you're calling your top who's, and hopefully it was easier to get them on the phone with the C3PO strategy and texting first and that kind of thing versus calling. I mean, it's always better when they call you than when you have to, when you call them. So talk to me about how those conversations went and how did it change your event?
So simple, so easy. Especially because you're calling people that they're not surprised to hear from you. They're your people. So it's easy to get them on the phone, easy to have a conversation with them. And even if it was just mostly to just say, yeah, that sounds great, exactly what you're doing is awesome. So you're just not second guessing yourself the whole time, as to whether or not you're having the right event in the right location on the right day. So yeah, that was just so much easier than what I would have ever thought it was going to be.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And what you don't want to do is you're calling and you're saying, well, we're going to do it on Friday the 13th or whatever it is, and then you find out nobody can go on Friday the 13th because it's the same day as a school function or whatever it may be, and you have the ability to, set yourself up for the most amount of success. If you got 18 out of 25 you call that can make a certain time and date, then you're starting with 18 people that are going to the event, but you're not just starting with 18 people. You're starting with 18 of your best favorite people. And that, even if it was just those 18, it's going to be, a fantastic event. So,
What's so
any,
funny
yeah,
about that, Michael?
yeah.
Our original plan before we started making those phone calls was to do it on a Sunday that happened to be Super Bowl Sunday. And we didn't realize it was Super Bowl Sunday until we started making those calls. And we were like, how did none of us realize that was Super Bowl Sunday? We saved our butts just by, making those calls.
Well, all right. So I'm gonna talk to you about a little. We do the same thing, right? So we were scheduling our Referral Mastery Summit, which is our national convention, and so we did this. So we started calling, and we found out that we were actually going to do it on a couple of days of a Jewish holiday. And we have a lot of clients that are Jewish, and it was, I mean, and I would never want to step on any of the other religious toes, so to speak, of any dates. And it was just like, okay, like we're moving it. But it was just one of those where it was good to get a head start on that. And like, how did we not know that? How did we not? They do move during the year, so it's not like we have those
Mm-hmm.
memorized. This is an important part, is just to set ourselves up for the most amount of success with our top people. So now we go into the second phase, which is what I would call phase one, invitation. And so that invitation mastery, what was something that you kind of learned during that sequence and that part of the class?
So again, I had my whole team, making those invitations. And what I found is that typically it's not a problem for me to make invitations. It's a problem for my team.
Mm,
Like when we've had events in the past, they're all my people and my team doesn't have their people there.
mm,
And so that was the biggest thing that I saw, is that my team members were making those phone calls. They were making the exact number of phone calls that you suggested. They were reporting in. It was easy. I mean, that's the best thing about this, is that it was workshop. And,
yeah.
that's what everyone has been saying, is like, we need more classes like this that are workshop based. So each week you had an assignment and you just
Mhm.
did that assignment, and don't worry about what's coming next. Don't worry about it. It'll work itself out. Just do what you need to do this week. And to see my team doing it without me telling them to have to do it, or without me holding them accountable, was a big breakthrough for us too.
Yeah, love that. I mean, it is one of those things that, you're kind of like mom, even though you are a mom of one of your team members. But like for my team, the Maher team in Kansas City, like I was dad, and I could tell them all like write handwritten notes, write handwritten notes, write handwritten notes. And then we would go to a conference and some panelist would say, well, I write handwritten notes every week. And we'd group up after the conference and they're like, oh my God, I heard the greatest thing. we should be writing handwritten notes. I'm going to start writing and I'm like, okay, right. You do it. That is a great idea. Let's see you do that. So it is one of those where sometimes it's better to have that third party who can hold them accountable and keep them moving.
Well, I
And
mean, you also give the exact script. When I'm training people, I tend to think they already know, like, because I know how to do it. And so I think, oh, just do it like this. But it's not the same as like saying, no, say this, do it at this time, check their social media first. Like, the system is so foolproof that I feel like anybody can do it.
yeah, well, I've tried to make it that way, but it's always being honed and always being, processed. And there's always the rebellion, especially from the realtor side of our
What?
business. There just seems to be like I can't tell you how, well, you probably heard it many times. Just trust the system, trust yourself, keep moving forward. Just do what the system, and they're like, oh, well, why don't I do this with the invitation? And it's like, okay, you know.
They haven't failed enough yet. That's what I
Yeah,
say, you know?
yeah.
You gotta like hit the wall. You gotta have the breakdowns. You gotta have the pain to be able to realize like maybe I don't know everything here.
I think there's something to that. I really do. Well, so let's lead into that. That leads to session 3 and week 3, which was sponsor mastery. And a lot of people get nervous when we start talking about sponsors because it has money involved. And so, how did you approach the sponsorship piece? And maybe what was your biggest surprise from that element?
Just to give you an idea, I have to share this because I am so resist asking for help that in 2023 and 2024, my personal home was flooded with 6 feet of water from hurricanes. Okay.
Mm.
2 years in a row, I'd only lived back in the house for 3 months. I got it again. We lost everything.
Oh,
Okay.
geez.
2,200 square foot home on the water, just gone. I would not take the KW Cares money. Now, I paid into KW Cares every single transaction since I've been in real estate. Okay. But
Mm.
it was just so against something in me to take money. So when you were like, okay, now we're going to get people to pay for this event for you, I saw it like my old way of being saw it like I was asking for a favor or I needed something or it was about me, right? Like I couldn't do it on my own. Or it was just a very personal thing that I was dealing with. But what I saw when I forced myself, and then also I was like, well, we're just going to do a little small event. So I only need to ask for a little bit of money. So that we did the latte event. So I was
Yeah,
like, how much is coffee? $5.
yeah,
Worst case scenario, I can pay for it myself. No big deal. So we put a $500 budget on this coffee
yep.
event. And as I started asking, I started to realize I'm not taking, I'm multiplying. I'm
Mm.
multiplying. I'm a multiplier. I'm allowing people, vendors, businesses to bring awareness to themselves, form relationships with me and my team, contribute, and that investment was multiplying for them.
Hmm.
Like, and that's when I actually got connected to what a rainmaker is, to be honest with you. I never liked that term or
Yeah.
mega agent. I never liked those terms. But when I started to see this, it it's like the Grand Canyon opened up, to be honest
Mm.
with you. And from that point, it was just like the floodgates opened. Now, I definitely got that event paid for, but I have some really cool stories about what happened further too.
Well, I think we can talk about that right now, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
this was a big deal. This is a big deal. And I love you use the past tense. You were like, I used to have trouble with getting money or accepting money or accepting help. And I've noticed like now you're getting into this the who is not you thing. And you're like, I'm better at accepting help and I'm better at looking at it from a different angle. And one really obvious angle that maybe you didn't see before but see now is how much is your endorsement worth? So we're only partnering with sponsors who we can endorse in front of our biggest referral sources and our biggest friends. Well, what is that worth in today's world? it's almost priceless. But I think the thing, and maybe I'm wrong, but and maybe I'm just kind of projecting into this, but I think one of the big things that really helped you is that this event wasn't just going to generate leads and referrals for you, but there was actually a system within it that was going to generate leads and referrals for whoever you partnered with as well. Was that a part of the process for you that felt like, okay, this is actually them investing to get these leads versus me taking money?
The way you teach is not selfish. It's
Mhm.
not about me getting something, or, it's not, you really are incorporating the sponsors as much as my real estate business. It's like it's a total package. And I love that because that's how my business is. My tagline is people, not properties. That's my
Mm.
Instagram hashtag. I put the people first. Always the commission comes, the deals come as long as I put the people first. And I think I had that all collapsed, with not asking for sponsors or anything because I don't want to impose. I also never wanted my referral partners to feel like that my referrals were contingent upon their financial contribution to the
Mhm.
team. I
Mhm.
just felt like that was icky for me, and I just didn't ever want to put that on them. But the way you presented it made me see it in a completely different way that allowed me to now incorporate my referral partners and like beyond my referral partners, like actually now I feel like I can go network with people. I never would go to networking events because I always felt like, oh, they're trying to get my business. And now, like the other day, I went to a golfing event with a bunch of women business owners because I'm like, oh, I can make new referral partners for my events and give them an opportunity. Like it's literally changed every single thing about my business.
You hit on a really, really big aspect of this that um, I don't know if it's ever been verbalized as well as you just did it. You know, having events that we partner with sponsor partners, we literally have something to talk about to everyone every day, not just our sphere, but like you said, it gives you another. Why do we not network? A lot of times we don't network because we don't see the value in it. But now, when every person we meet is a potential sponsor for an event, it may not be every event, but an event, all of a sudden these relationships have more. And here's the thing about being a realtor too, is we are rainmakers. We are rainmakers. For, the studies show that for every one referral we receive, we hand out 8 for every transaction. We hand out an inspector, warranty, title company, closing attorney, contract, all the different contractors, plumbers, HVAC, carpet, paint, whatever it may be, stagers. Like, look at all the outgoing referrals we send. And the truth is how are they supposed to reciprocate? And how do you reciprocate somebody that gave you 10 referrals? And you're not going to be able to refer tit for tat. You're not going to be able to referral match any of us because we're machines. But what you can do is invest in this event where I get you even more referrals. How does that sound? And so it just changes the dynamic of these sponsor partners, and I hope it did for you too. I know one thing it changed for me is I started being a lot more selective about who I refer, who I endorse, and who I partner with. And it got to the point where I only really wanted to partner with the best of the best. And what that did is that actually made me look better because the people I was referring to them were all raving about who I was referring to, which made me look good. So it was just kind of this never ending, beautiful cycle of building great relationships. It wasn't just a money exchange. It was an investment in each other's business, like a partnership. That's why we call them partners. So,
Yeah, for me, it was a little bit more expansive than that because I have found that I kept my circle so small because I didn't want people to rely on me for referrals. I didn't want, them to be expecting, like my best friend owns a home inspection company. Every time a home inspector would approach me, I was like, I felt disloyal,
that's
to
right.
my best friend. But
Yeah.
what I've realized now is like, let's say title companies, for instance, I have three now. And I've divided them up by location, which is better for the client anyway. And all three of them now want to sponsor events instead of going to the same one all the time. They're all great. So why not be able to utilize all three of them? So my world expanded so much outside of that new conversation.
Yeah, a great way to look at it. So what were the results? What happened with the I love you latte or thanks a latte event?
So
And
we, yeah, okay. So we had, so what we decided to do is I live in a new neighborhood. Since my house flooded, I moved and bought a house, and I've been farming that neighborhood for a year by doing events that I've paid for every single time. They love me because they're like, oh, Jackie's going to pay for this, you know? And so we did it for our neighborhood, and we did it at the Dunkin' Donuts down the street. Like we really simplified this big time. We got 20 people to attend for a cup of coffee. We also had a few at Dunkin' Donuts that became leads that we bought coffee because we just decided we're going to buy coffee for anybody who comes in, you know,
yeah,
that day. And we got 6 referrals out of it. But here's the thing is it was the simplest, least time I have ever spent on any event that I have ever done.
hmm
So, and it cost us $0. We gave away
yeah,
phenomenal raffle prizes. I think we might have profited like $50 or something. But we tried to give all the money, you know, away back to the guests who came. And yeah, and I guess the coolest part about it is I have another event coming up March 22nd, which I already planned back in October. I ended up getting $5,000 in sponsorship money for that event. So last year, that event cost me out of pocket $8,000. This year, I raised $9,800 for that event, and I was able to reinvest and do lead magnets and things like that that I have not done before. And so that event is completely paid for already. It's coming up on March 22nd. So it's just been multiplying. Like that's all I can say is that it's become a multiplier in my life.
yeah. I mean, some people take the money and just call it profit. You are making it a true sponsor partner relationship where whatever is coming in, you're using it to get more people to to promote it, to get more of your sphere there, to do more gifts, to do more thing. And the thing is you know, is there a right way or wrong way? Well, there's a right way for you, and this is the right way for you. I don't care what people do with the profit. They could make their house payment with it. They could keep it. They can keep it for future events. They can reinvest it in door prizes. They can I don't they can donate it to the charity. Like there's no right or wrong answer. It's whatever that person wants to do. I love that you used it to promote it more and promote your session more. And you're actually doing a downsizing seminar, right?
Yeah, so I do them twice a year. But this is my first time not paying for the event out of pocket, which is great. I mean, I got a builder who's doing 55 built Pulte, who's building 55 plus neighborhoods. One phone call, Michael. They gave me a check for $2,500.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a
That's the
game
first of many,
changer.
right? I mean, if
What's
that
that?
partnership, it's the first of many. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
this is probably beyond the scope of today's podcast, but just know that like a Pulte or any builders, their suppliers have co-op dollars for marketing. So there's an opportunity not just from the home builder, there's also an opportunity from the Tyvek wrap person,
Oh
the
wow.
HVAC company, the wood lumber company, and so on and so forth. So just know there's a real opportunity that this could really grow and do some crazy things. You know, I don't like to embed my stories into this a whole lot, but I did a holiday open house at a subdivision, and we did limos, picked everybody up at all of their offices. And then we had, I think it was 12 limos that were running at all times. You got to pay for them by the hour. So I was like, how do I maximize these hours? Well, they would pick up and then they would park there. And then when they were full, they would go back and drop off all the agents. So we did a holiday open house, kind of a caravan on steroids at the subdivision. Well, through the co-op dollars of the suppliers and the builder and the developer, we ended up making money hosting that event. And then, in a neighborhood that sold 5 a year, we sold 52 that year. So
Wow.
it was and it was a big part of it because our whole thing was it was kind of on the outskirts of town. And I had
Mm.
a teammate in the limo, and when they picked them up, they said, as soon as they left, they clicked the stopwatch. And so they clicked the stopwatch. They didn't explain anything. They just clicked it, right? And so all the agents were in there like, what's up with the stopwatch? That kind of thing. But then, like the team member, I gave them a couple of scripts on talking about why this neighborhood was special and why they should consider it for future buyers. And then when they pulled into the subdivision, they clicked the stopwatch. And, I think a lot of these agents always kind of felt like, well, that's kind of a way, right? And then the stopwatch would say 16 minutes, 17 minutes, 18 minutes, 22 minutes. And the whole slogan was closer than you think. We're
Wow,
closer
that's
than
so
you
cool.
think. And
Yeah.
all of it, all of a sudden the agents became our biggest supporters. And, we like a guy named Drew Whitlock ended up selling like 7 or 8 properties in there himself. And it all came from that open house caravan
So
that was
brilliant.
partnered with a builder, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
there,
people really want experiences like this. It takes something to cut through the noise of realtors and just listed and just sold. And, like I went to show a property today to a family I hadn't met yet. And I pulled up and I walked up and you know what they said to me? Oh, you look like a realtor.
is
Like they're so,
that a
you know what I mean?
compliment?
I don't know. It's so hard to get people's attention to give what makes you different, what's
Mm,
your value add versus their cousin versus their neighbor versus their whatever. They kind of have it like they know what a realtor is and there's not
mhm.
maybe a lot of value there, but when you're doing these types of events for people and you're spending time with them, and that's one of the biggest things I love when I did kind of like your orientation and you said the most valuable thing you can ever give to your client is your time, and you had me because that is what I have experienced with my clients is they want a conversation, they want a face to face, they want a hug, they want an experience with you, and
Mhm.
I'm excited to do more of that.
Well, I love that. And I also like you talked about how do we have our community look at us as different than the typical realtor? And honestly, that leads into the next part of this really, really easily is the charity mastery part of this where, partnering with a charity. How did you choose your charity partner and what impact do you think that had on the energy or the participation around the event?
This was one of the biggest surprises for me because I've not done it before. And I know it's been recommended to me so many times, and I've not done it before. And because we were determined to keep it simple, we had our event the day after Valentine's Day. So we found an organization that collects candy, unwrapped candy, and they put them in care boxes and they send them overseas to soldiers.
Oh, I
So
love it.
we said to people, "Hey, bring your unwrapped candy that you know is left over from Valentine's Day that you don't want sitting around and eating for 2 weeks." I didn't know if anybody was going to bring any candy. I had no idea, right? But we made a cute little box with like Valentine's and candy, whatever. People went to the store and bought
Mm,
candy and brought it for the purpose of donating. And that
yeah.
really woke me up that because that's something I would do, but I would never think that other people would do that, right? For
Mhm.
a $5 cup of coffee, it wasn't about the $5 cup of coffee. It was about an event, a place to be on a Sunday afternoon with people you like and an opportunity to contribute something that you wouldn't normally contribute. So I love this part of the event mastery program. It's something I would have never done before. And I'm going to definitely never not do it again.
Yeah, I love it. It's in every one of our event masteries, right? Is you got to partner with a charity. It costs you nothing and gains you everything. I
Yeah.
truly believe that. And
Yeah.
I mean, people in Kansas City looked at me differently when we were doing these events that were partnered with a charity, and they looked at me as generous. I'm not sure if I was generous in the beginning, to be totally honest. But after 4 or 5 of these events, and we had generated a lot of coats and a lot of blankets and a lot of canned goods, all of a sudden I was like, yeah, dang, I may not be generous, but my community sure is generous. And I'm creating these things that are getting these charities the opportunities they are. And I just leaned into it and walked through it and said, you know what, I am generous. I'm going to lead this generous generation and see what happens. So I love it.
Well,
All
can I
right.
share
Yeah.
something with you
Yeah.
that went beyond real estate? That's a pretty big deal for me. Um, my husband died in 2011, which you mentioned. He fought a battle of depression for years, and he lost that battle. Okay, and you can read between the lines what that means. So for years and years and years, I have always wanted to create a foundation in his name to help contribute to the care and recovery of mental health, you know? And I always thought I got to make millions of dollars to be able to do that. Okay. This year is the 15-year anniversary of his death. And because of what I had learned from your class, I started the foundation, and we have our first retreat on the anniversary of his death is coming up. It's going to totally be paid for by donations and sponsors. And we're going to have 12 people there learning to meditate, learning holistic ways to deal with anxiety and depression. And it's happening now, and it doesn't have to wait for me to sell a bunch of real estate to make millions of dollars to honor, the struggle that my husband went through. So sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, but when I tell you that it's made a big difference in my life and it's changed everything, that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's powerful. And what a great gesture on your part, and what great help that you're going to be giving so many um, amazing people. What a tribute, what a legacy. And uh, that's just a beautiful thing, right? That's a beautiful thing. And I appreciate you sharing that, because that's what life is all about, right? That's what this is all about. And you know, you really you kind of hit me with that. Is I thought I had to wait until I made millions of dollars. And that was the beginning of all of what I do. The generosity generation, all of it was Proverbs 11:25, where it said, "A generous man shall be a prosperous man. He who refreshes others shall himself be refreshed." And I don't know if I just read it differently that time, but it was, "A generous man shall be a prosperous man." It doesn't say, like, once you have prosperity, you should start leaning into generosity. It actually says, and I always thought these rich people should be generous and should donate and that kind of thing. And then what it made me think about is like, well, no, that's how they got there. They got prosperous by being generous, and the generosity comes first and leads to the prosperity. And it's re-emphasized in the next sentence, which says, one who refreshes others shall themselves be refreshed. Well, we go first, we refresh others, and then we will be refreshed ourselves. And so I didn't know we were going there today, but
Yeah.
that's a powerful, powerful gesture on your part, and I love it. I mean, I love everything about that. And
Just thank
now
you
you
so
have a
much.
vehicle, right? Now
Mhm.
you have a vehicle to feed the foundation.
It makes selling real estate so much more fun.
Mm,
It's, you know, I couldn't hustle more than I already did, Michael. I couldn't work more hours. I couldn't, put on a better smile. Like I had to expand in this way to make my life work mean something beyond the next unit or the next commission check. And you've given me a way to do it now versus where I thought it was going to be 10 years from now when I don't have to schlep open house signs anymore. Like it's just something I can do now. My son can be a part of it, honor his father that way. And, I thought it was just such a full circle moment given how you started this, way back when you had your near death experience.
Right.
And yeah, I'm really, really, I'm very grateful.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's roll into the event, right? So you
Okay.
did confirmation mastery and then you did the event mastery. And so talk about a little bit of how you ran this event differently than the events that you've done in the past. And you've already said you got 6 referrals out of it, and that's from only 20 people. I'd take that
Yeah.
percentage anytime. But how did you run the event a little bit differently than you had in the past?
Yeah. Well, we have some work to do on this.
Mm,
One of the things that we learned is we need more training on filling out the whole form, which you
mhm.
said. And so that's something we have to do better at is probably going to be me, maybe in the beginning, doing some training on how to, it's okay to ask people to fill out the whole form. You don't
That's
have
right.
to actually just let them get by with not filling out the form. But it was just more intentional. It was just, we had an intention on referrals. To be honest with you, in every event that I've done in the past, I never counted how many referrals we got, never created an ROI off of it. I always felt like it was not really quantifiable because it was just something that was just happening over time. Where now I see that we can actually have an ROI. We need to have an ROI so that we know where we need to grow, where we need to improve based on your results and the people that have done this at a high level, their results. And it only just makes the next event better for the client, for the sponsors, right? So
Right.
there's no shame in counting the referrals and asking for people to fill out the
No.
form and all of that stuff. And that's all up here in my head and not wanting to inconvenience anyone or whatever. So we learned a lot and we're learning a lot. And we're in the next class right now and already planning our next event. So
Yeah, love that. And I think that is a big part is, we do have 6 referrals at your very first event running through this is a fantastic number. And it kind of shows that you've already been super referable before, because when you first run this system, we get, those forms filled out early, right at the beginning. So they haven't experienced anything with the sponsors yet. They haven't experienced anything with you yet. They're kind of given those referrals based on a lot of trust,
oh,
a
okay.
lot of question marks for the first event. Well, now, but what it does is it says, oh, Jackie does have time for our referrals. She wants our referrals. She wants and needs our referrals and our business. I had never thought Jackie needed anything. And
That's a good point.
right. So now they're like, oh, now I know how to repair. Now I know what to bring to the next event. They're not going to bring gifts. They're not going to bring whatever, right? They're going to bring referrals because now you've established that it is a referral ecosystem that you're building with this community. And that's a big part of this is that the first event, man, getting 6 to 10 referrals, that's ideal because of the way the system's set up. But the second and third events, like watch out because
Yeah, but I think
it's been
what's important
established.
about those 6 referrals is that they're from my neighborhood.
Yeah,
And although I had been farming the neighborhood for a year through events, I hadn't gotten any business out of it yet. So this was the first time in a year that I actually got referrals. I've got a listing appointment coming up down the street on my street, which I really don't think I would have gotten it if I hadn't had that event.
love it, and I hope you get it. That'd be a
Thank
great
you.
great
I'm
success
sure I
story
will.
down the line. Well, who else would they pick? They've actually met you. They
And
see
no
how
brainer.
generous you are. They see you buying coffees for everybody. They see all the partners talking great about you. They see all the people at the event talking great about you. You're the greatest thing since sliced bread to them. So you're going to get that listing and get it sold. All right. Follow up mastery. So the events happened. You've had your 20 through. You've got your 6 referrals. How many outgoing referrals did you have for the sponsors? Do you remember?
I don't know. I don't have that number.
Okay. What do you think it was like 8 to 10? Do you think total or
Well, I
was it?
think so. so my title company was one of the sponsors, so they'll get all
Tough
the business
referral.
that comes
Yeah.
from that. So when I get that listing, they'll get that, right?
Yeah.
I know that I had one buyer that I sent to the lender. I remember that one specifically. And and the handyman who was the other sponsor, he got some business out of it as well. So
Yeah.
his wife was there, like talking to people, and I was referring him out. So I know that referrals went out, just don't know how many.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. So what else in the follow-up mastery do you feel like was a success, or what was an aha that you got in following up after the event?
Well, I guess one of the biggest things is, like I said, I've been farming the neighborhood, and I took the photos from the event with the neighbors and I put it in the Facebook group for, and then I thanked each person individually for coming. And we also have a group chat, and I put them in the group chat and everything. So it was like people who missed it were like, oh man, I wish I could have gone. When is the next one? What's the next, So there's already like this anticipation, like this is going to be a regular thing and an opportunity for the neighbors to connect. And so, yeah, and we did send out the survey as well. The survey was great. I think about half the people filled out the survey who came. We got some really good tips on, how to do it next time and that kind of thing. So it was, yeah, really. And that is definitely where we fell short before our events,
Mhm.
before Event Mastery, is we always send out just a text thank you. And then if we had an event on the Facebook group, we would say thanks and we put the pictures on there. But it wasn't personalized, for each person who came. And it wasn't like, okay, how about the next one?
Mhm. So when is the next one?
May 16th.
I love it. You already know the date. And
Yes.
you're going to get twice as many people to come because everybody that went to that Facebook group totally had FOMO. They're like, we have a huge fear of missing out right now. All these guys,
Exactly.
they were just like, oh, she was serious. She is buying everybody coffee. I thought she was kidding. I thought she was just like every other realtor. I thought she was kidding.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So you went through the sequences and the chapters and so on and so forth of Event Mastery VIP edition. So given overall, like, how your thought process changed or how you feel differently, like how did it have an effect on you and your team?
Well, the team is excited. What we see for ourselves is your recommendation of doing 7 events a year is perfect for us because it always gives the team something to talk about to people. When we talk about lead generation, people tend to freeze. I mean, I don't have that problem, but the problem I have is passing on that to other people. And so now that they always have an event to invite someone to, they always have something to talk about. They're not getting stuck in lead generation. And they're
Mhm.
even talking, my team is also talking about wanting to do little micro events for themselves because that was one of the issues, is that our team is like spread out on like 3 different counties. So, to drive an hour for a coffee maybe was prohibitive for some people, but they are keep saying, I want to do a coffee event in my neighborhood. And I'm like, perfect, like go for it. It's
Heck yeah.
really empowered the team. And just to give you an example, this quarter, we have triple the number of closings in this quarter of 2026 than we did in this quarter of 2025.
Oh, wow.
Triple.
Everybody's business is down, but Jackie's. That's
No, I'm on track to triple my business this year.
mm,
And I think a lot of it had to do with me just deciding I'm the problem.
mm,
And then the referral mastery just like shot us out like a rocket in January. God, I really recommend people do this in those slower quarters of the year, because it keeps you in action, and that's important in our business because all that energy that you're generating, people may not be, coming to the event, but you're in their face. They see
mm,
you, they hear you, even if they're not responding back. And Michael, I have 120,000 followers on social media.
mhm.
120,000 followers on social media. Okay. This gave me content, so much content, because you know
That's
how
right.
hard that is, right? To
That's
keep
right.
the
That's right.
beast fed.
That's right. That's right.
So it
Keep
just,
it.
yeah, it's, did I answer
Yep.
your question about, yeah, like it's just, we need to do those 7 events a year. We have plenty of ideas on what to do, and we're going to get better and better every time.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, wouldn't doubt it one bit. And like you said, we call it like the fire, right? You gotta keep putting wood on the fire or it'll burn out. That's with any relationship, is that if you don't have a what's next, if you don't have that communication, then that relationship is doomed to wither and die. You're not throwing the kindling on, you're not throwing the wood on the fire to keep it going. And the event is the perfect wood because it invites people to gather around the fire. It is one of those where you always have something to talk about. And the other thing I love with like what your team doing is maybe they're going to get their own little sponsors for their own little events, right? And then they will network with a different mindset that everybody's a potential sponsor for our events, and that relationship has value no matter what. So I I'm we are so early in this. I can't tell you how excited I am when I'm going to be talking to you in 6 months or a year, and then over next year you're like, all right, we've got all our 7 events in, and this is what we're going to do the rest of our career. And you're just set. And you're just set. And you're getting 20 referrals at every event. And like you're managing that and growing your team. And I think one of the biggest and best things that I've learned from you and I just heard today is raise your lid. Like the law of the lid is something, and we've got to raise the lid, and the way to do that is to go into growth mode, and that's sometimes that's really hard because we all have an ego. We think
Oh,
what we're doing might be the best thing since sliced bread, but
yeah,
then we find out there's a better way. There's a bigger way. There's a
yeah.
tweak. You didn't overhaul your events. You tweaked them. You tweaked them a week at a time, and those little tweaks, not to use the name little, but those little tweaks made big differences. And this is awesome. And
In
what a
fact,
what
I
a story.
reached out to you because I was like, hey, what other programs do you have? Because it's the system that you have that's so great. And it's all laid out and it's in writing, it's in video, it's in like you just it's foolproof. And I'm like, I reached out to you, I'm like, hey, what other systems do you have that I can put in place? Um, and we'll have another conversation about that. But the workshop style and the pamphlets and the everything, it's just you don't have to be creative, you don't have to be outgoing, you don't have to be an extrovert, you don't have to have a huge sphere. It's for everybody, it's for everybody, and that's what I love.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It's for everybody who implements, as long as they're willing to take action and I always say that I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not. I'm not. I might be the opposite of that. I'm pretty blunt. I'm pretty straight to the point. I'm not very funny, and I'd have no time for non-implementers.
I have a
Where
nickname for you:
Yeah, what is that?
the Kool-Aid Man of events.
Yeah, it
You
is a
like, do
little
you
bit.
remember the Kool-Aid Man from like
Oh
the 80s
yeah.
that
Oh
just busts through
yeah.
the wall like unabashedly,
Yeah.
and you're like this big presence,
Yeah.
and you're not like the most eloquent, but you're like,
Yeah.
we're gonna get the job done, and you come in a room and everyone's smiling and you've got the attention, and I love it. I'm just like, oh yeah, Michael Mayer's the Kool-Aid Man of events. It's
Yeah. Oh
perfect.
yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
That's what he would say
That
when
was
he
his
broke
little tagline.
broke
Oh yeah.
broke through the wall. That's right. Well, I better lose weight, judging by what you just said. So no,
That's not
I'll
what I
walk into
meant.
that, right? I'll walk into that. I used to have I played softball with a guy. His nickname was Kool-Aid, and but no, that's
It's the
I think that's the
presence.
truth.
It's the
Yeah,
presence. When you're very passionate.
yeah,
You know what you're talking about. Like, a lot of times in real estate, I feel like there's a lot of talking heads. People tell you what you should be doing, but they've not done it, and they've not, been in the trenches with it. And I love
yeah,
that you built your whole business this way, and you know what you're talking about, and you're passionate about it just enough that it's like someone like me who's very skeptical can say, all right, I'm going to listen, I'm going to do what he says.
yeah. Well, it sounds like it turned out okay,
Yeah, it did.
better than okay. Tripled your business. It's a good start to the new year.
And thank you
Well,
so much for this opportunity to talk this through and share with you and your guests. And
Yeah, I love it. You're my
Been fun.
guest, and I appreciate you. And I
Your
will tell you
listeners,
that,
yeah.
we've got tens of thousands of people who are going to download this and listen to it, and they're not going to listen to it just once. They're going to listen over and over and over again. And your presence today was not little, Jackie. Your your presence was huge and very meaningful. And I have absolutely loved this conversation.
Me
And
too.
I want to thank you on my behalf, but also the listeners and viewers who are they're going to bookmark this one and watch it over and over again. So thank you so
I
much for
hope
being our
so.
guest
Thank
today.
you. Thank you so much, Michael.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Jackie Little. She tripled her business. She's also got her events fully sponsored. Can you run a fun, charitable, referral generating an event that also delivers a profit? Well, at least today, yes, you can. I hope you get interested in what we're doing at Referral Mastery Academy. We'd love to have you. You're more than welcome to the Join the Generosity Generation as well. That's joingengen.com. It is a free group to get into. You've got to answer 2 or 3 questions to apply because we don't want bots in. But we'd love to have you in our referral group. It's joingengen.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you next time on Referrals Podcast.